Okay, hey my friends, welcome back to Staying Strong for Marriages. If you're new to the channel, this is basically just I'm going to look at a resource that I think is really helpful to marriages or folks looking to get married. It's this product here, The Quest for Authentic Manhood, and you can see that this was a series that I did a while ago. It's offered at a lot of churches all over the place, and I just wanted to cover it. It's written by a gentleman named Robert Lewis, and it's an older resource. So Robert has been looking at some of the issues facing men and some of the benefits of Christian masculinity since the 90s. It's something that he really thought was a big deal, and so I wanted to just tell a little bit of their story. Robert Lewis, they have a new product called 33, and so maybe my edition is a little bit outdated, but I really like it. It's, you can see here, we're at authenticmanhood.com, which is their website, and so they have men's fraternity. But okay, so we can see that this is basically like a study series. If you like Jordan Peterson, obviously he's caught a lot of fire as far as he has a lot of critics, but he has a lot of critics because he has a lot of followers. A lot of people have picked up on what he has to say, the benefits of men in society, some of the things that are going on with toxic masculinity, and all the stuff from the APA and Gillette and blah, 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 about how men are bad. I looked at some of the foundations of the Duluth model and how that kind of came from more of a, I don't want to say that all feminism is bad, but certain brands of feminism are definitely not pro-marriage. They're definitely not pro-family. They seem to have started off. If you look at the founders, Ellen Pence, and some of the work that was covered, I'm still waiting on a book to arrive from Amazon that I just ordered, but I wanted to confirm. But it looks like, as far as all the research I've done, that the beginnings of the Duluth model really didn't have anything to do with helping people stay married or helping kids have parents, both parents in the household. It seemed to be quite on a different agenda. So look, but we know that parents and fathers are very important for the development of children. It's very important that if people get into marriages, that it's very devastating if those don't work out. So why is masculinity important? Well, like I said, a lot of people, I would say, basically, if you like Jordan Peterson, you're going to like this Robert Lewis stuff because it covers a lot of the same topics. But one of the great things I love about Christianity and Christian culture is that men sit down and talk about how to become better followers of Christ, how to become better men, how to become better at work. And so that's some of the things. This is a 25-week series. And so you're going to meet up with a bunch of guys from church that are interested in these same types of things about what's going on with the masculine crisis or the supposed masculine crisis. Masculinity is under attack. That's definitely what Robert Lewis says. He says it comes from feminism. It comes from the Industrial Revolution, where men and fathers are basically separated from their boys through just the change in the work setting, where men kind of go away, come back late at night. Not a lot of men in schools teaching, and so what does that all mean? He looks at a couple other things, but like I said, why I like it is just because you can sit down with some guys and work through some of the stuff. So Robert Lewis says that there's no lofty vision for manhood, and like I said, he's been doing this since the 90s or early 2000s. So he saw something, and he was way ahead of the curve. I mean, he recognized the trends for a lot of things that we're talking about today in society. But like I said, divorce removes a lot of fathers, work removes a lot of fathers, and so a lot of guys, we grow up or we don't have a great role model. I know some of my favorite role models from early on was my dad, but also guys that were teachers, so principals, basketball coaches. But oftentimes, I mean, marriage is becoming less and less popular. Cohabitation is becoming more and more popular. Children born out of wedlock is as high as 70% in some communities. I think it's like 24% in the white community, and then it kind of, I think it's the least in the Asian American communities. But it just depends, I mean, whatever hand we're dealt, we got to figure out what are we going to do. I remember I worked a lot in youth development with an organization called Young Life, and no doubt the kids that were most receptive to anything that we had to offer, the mentoring stuff, the coaching stuff, the things with helping kids with homework or just like talking about life, were the kids that didn't have fathers. I mean, I worked with guys, it was the women ministered to the women, guys ministered to the younger high school guys, and so it was like, those were the kids that always were so interested in showing up, is the kids that didn't have any fathers. So he talks about that most of us, we have very similar stories, that we face the same challenges, we have the same pain, we have the same past, that we learn and grow as men by spending time with other men, that we can't learn masculinity from women, so there's a big push in mentoring and being a mentor. But basically that's the idea, is grouping the guys up together and figure out how are we going to tackle the responsibilities that God has given us. So, yeah, he says that our stories are not all that unique. I mean, the things that we face as guys, basically all the other guys in the church or out there are facing the same problems. He covers 4 wounds: the father wound, the overly bonded mother wound, the all alone wound, and the heart wound. I won't unpack all those, but I will say one thing. It's really interesting coming back from the Middle East, moving back to the suburbs, and seeing how isolating it is in American culture. Long work hours, cars, you don't walk anywhere. I mean, just kind of, there's, my friend sent me an article recently. I'll leave it, but it was just about the isolated man in America. We get up, we go to work, we come home, and if we have kids, then we do the kids thing. And very few guys have friends. Women do, I think, a much better job of getting the girls together for coffee dates or whatever. Guys, it's pretty much sports on the weekends and, some church on Sunday. So part 1 is really about surveying the land, sizing up things, understanding what some of the basic trends are going on in society, some of the difficulties, helping us unpack our story a little bit, helping us find our place in society, that the things we face, like I said, are not all that unique from one guy to the next. It's pretty similar stuff. But part 2 is basically about creating a vision for the future. There's a capstone project at the end where it really helps us define some of the chinks in the armor, some of the blind spots that we have, some of the weaknesses that we have due to our story, and help us zero in on, what are the things that are really going to trip us up and snare us and snag us, and help us find, other guys we can talk to, other guys we can relate to, find accountability, and set out with a plan about how we're going to kind of get to that next level and the level after that. So one of the things that they do is they look at just the biblical story. Men in the scriptures, they look at the first Adam, what they call, versus the second Adam. First Adam was actually the first man to walk the earth, the first man created by God. The narrative that we're given in Genesis, how that guy, whatever mistakes he made, right? And they look at other stories, different kind of archetypal guys: the servant, the lover, the king, the warrior, and how each of us can deviate from that, either overperform and get carried away with it, or underperform and kind of abdicate in those ways. So they talk about that. They look at a lot of the biblical definitions of manhood, because like he says, there's no compelling cultural idea for really masculinity in society. That, I mean, you could be the bad boy, or you could kind of be the mama's boy. You could be the money guy. You could try to be the athlete. And there's a lot of like kind of false models that he gives. One thing that he holds up is, well, who was Christ? Is this a guy worth following? And if you're not into Christianity, I mean, shoot, why not? Go see, check it out, right? I mean, we do need some compelling figure to follow. And look, a lot of people loved Christ, a lot of people didn't love Christ. So if you're going to follow him, just don't expect that everything is going to go great for you, that everybody's going to love your thing and your views on life. Obviously, a lot of people did not like Jesus, who claimed to be the Messiah. But it talks about 2 weeks about how to live as husbands with our wives, and then also 2 weeks are given to parenting. Parenting boys for 1 week, parenting girls for the other week. Like I said, it ends on a capstone project, and that's really all I have. I mean, I really liked it. I think it's cool. There's a lot of fill in the blank. It's very active. Oh, there's the DVD set here. I think, okay, so $270. The church will probably pick that up. And then each guy spends about $10 to get the workbook. Like I said, they have other articles. It's a Christian organization, Why Jesus? But, I mean, this is going on in a lot of churches. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with Standing Strong for Marriages as a channel, it's really about marriage restoration. It's about divorce recovery and looking at the scriptures, praying, putting on the armor of God, kind of sinking in and getting on board with some of these Christian principles that basically divorce is a marriage under attack. And so many of us have experienced that. Government data in the States, 50% of marriages fail. Counseling data says something more like 2/3. And so a lot of people are losing hope in marriage. Yet God says it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's a sacred thing. It's something to be held in high esteem. And, I try to challenge Christian leaders and Christian people to think a little bit differently about it. We're throwing away a lot of marriages unnecessarily in the church. God calls us to a different standard. I'm excited about that, and so I try to cover some of those things. It is very controversial. A lot of people want to just do whatever they want to do. And I understand that as well, because, look, being in a non-functioning, awful marriage, sexless marriage, or whatever. Like, I've heard a lot of stories, talked to a lot of people, and yeah, there's a lot of marriages that if people don't change some things, it's going to suck. But the idea behind Christianity that I really love is that God is invested in us, and He's empowered us with certain tools that He says are intended to help us get better, to be better at love, forgiveness, mercy, grace, understanding, long suffering, and that we can ultimately walk in victory through many of the things, and that God is wise, and so that we should follow Him. Why do I say all that? Well, I guess I went on a little bit of a rabbit trail, but I've covered other things like how the heck do you keep, so women are initiating about 70-80% of divorces in the States and in the UK. So what's going on with women? I've always I thought recently, they used to have that thing for men, the promise keepers, right? Maybe we need a promise keepers for women or some kind of something. I think on the guys end, as a guy doing a channel, it's like, how can we help guys, understand what women are need, their issues, their stressors, their expectations. So I looked at this thing, Happy Wife, Happy Life. I've tried to look at different resources like John Gottman, talking about being friends with your wife, developing that deep respect and that deep admiration and really building that friendship in as two people. I've looked at other secular resources, so I'm just trying to look at a lot of things. But one thing that I think is just so awesome is that children do way better with their fathers. I think that's pretty undeniable. So just in closing, I think there's a lot of upsides to this book. If it's something you're interested in, if you want to get a group of guys together to really, build in, have like a group of, we're going to get after this and we're going to do it. We're going to figure out what does it mean to be a guy? How do we be successful in life? I think this is a great resource. The last time I made this video, it was garbage. The audio was garbage, so I wanted to remake it. I do apologize to the subscribers because sometimes I'll post a video, I'll decide it sucks, and I'll remake it. So I'm sorry if you're seeing some of the stuff come up again, but one thing I'm trying to do as a guy is just be better in excellence. Be better detail oriented, be better in excellence, and try to do everything at a high level. Always trying to improve. So that's all I have for you guys. I hope everything's well. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, bye.